Hey y'all, this is Heather here, part 3 of my BAHA experience. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience with Emory Hospital. So I met Dr. Vivas, and I think this was early 2018 because I had to wait 4 months from 2017 into 2018 to get an appointment. So I had an appointment, and I remember I waited the longest time that day. I guess they were backed up. But I waited like an hour and a half in the waiting room. And I'm thinking, if it's like this every time, I'm just going to need to be patient and bring a coloring book or something. So I went in and I told her all my history, which you can see that in the first episode. And she said, okay, this sounds like something we can do, maybe a middle ear exploratory surgery and see what's going on in your ear that might be causing your conductive hearing loss. Because I also had a hearing test that day. So they saw my charts and they're like, oh, this is okay. We see where your hearing loss is. And my charts are actually flipped from a normal human. I can hear really well high pitches, and then low pitches I cannot hear till about 80 decibels. I think normal is between 15 and 20. Mine has to be 80, which is practically a lawnmower or, just soft playing on a drum set, what most people can probably hear. So she saw my chart, and I said, "Oh, well, how often do you do something like this?" Because remember, last time I was just going off of really the chances and everything that was explained to me last time 20 years ago when I had my appointment in high school. And she said, "Oh, we do these a couple of times a week." And when she said a week, I was stunned. I was thinking maybe she'd say a month. She said, "No, these are very common." I said, okay. She said, let's order an MRI and see where we can go from there. Because I want to make sure that everything is okay in there. And then once I get in there, we can do either some reconstruction or moving things around. And that will help fix your conductive hearing loss, which means something's wrong either with the bones or behind your eardrum or something getting to the cochlea. I said, okay. So I went in October after marching band season. I think I saw her in June. And I went in October to get an MRI. No, I'm sorry. I went over the summer to get an MRI. I didn't have the results until October because they never called me, and that's another story. But I had my MRI. I was so happy to get it done. Probably the happiest person that's ever walked into an Emory MRI building, and they had one up the road from where I live, so I didn't have to go all the way back to Atlanta, and or the next city over from where I live, and so I was able to have that done, and they never called me about the results. So I thought, okay, no news is good news, and quite honestly, it didn't really forget about it, but just it didn't bother me. And so I waited till after marching band season was over, and October 22nd, I believe, it was a Monday, I went and got my results. And she said, did they call you about your results? And she had a very concerned look on her face. And I said, no. She said, oh. And I said, I haven't been contacted. I haven't even gotten a bill yet. She said, oh, there's probably a reason for that. So now I'm really confused and interested. And she said they ordered the wrong MRI. And I'm thinking maybe that's something you would have called me about so I could have the new one. She said, well, they ordered the wrong one, but I can see 90% of what I need to see. Okay. And she said, it doesn't look like exploratory surgery is an option for you. And I was pretty devastated. Because here I'm thinking that, maybe I could have some surgery to reverse my hearing. But now it looks like kind of back to square one, with getting a hearing aid, which is really what I went in there for in the first place. So she said the MRI showed, and she showed me, that one of my 3 bones was fused to my skull. And it's a little bit in my right ear as well, not as much as my left ear. And she said that's probably been since birth. was like, okay. My cochlea is also not a full snail, if you will. It's supposed to look like a snail. Mine's kind of more like a bass clef. How's that? And so I said, okay. And she showed me. She said, if we were to try to repair this, you could possibly leak cerebral spinal fluid. And I said, that doesn't sound good. And she said, no, it's very dangerous. And I said, okay, let's not do that option. And later on, my nurse friends told me, yeah, that's really bad news. And so she said, the other option, there is another option. She said, I think you would be a good candidate for a bone anchored hearing aid. And I'm thinking, okay, I just heard hearing aid. I mean, I heard the other part, but hearing aid registered. So I thought, okay, I'm back to square one. So she said, meet with an audiologist and we'll go from there. So that'll be in my next episode. Thanks for joining.